Hello and welcome to the Small Steps to Wellness show with me, your host, Mari Craig, where we discuss how we can achieve more wellness in our lives, one small step at a time. I am especially interested in nutrition and am a student of culinary medicine, but I'm also a mother interested in how I can achieve more wellness for us as a family and for my children. The past 8 odd years, I've really looked into this. And being a natural skeptic, I have learned to become more open minded while staying skeptical because I have found that this has really helped me learn and widen my horizon. In the Small Steps to Wellness show, we will be talking to lots of different people and hearing lots of different topics, not just around nutrition, but around well-being in general. I am really excited to share this journey that I'm on with you all. If you would like to be a guest on this podcast, I would love to hear from you. The easiest way is probably to reach me on Instagram under @smallstepstowellness. And if you have a suggestion of a topic or somebody you think, oh, that person has to be on this show, then please also do let me know. Finally, I love getting feedback on what you've particularly enjoyed. If you'd like to get in touch, again, head over to Instagram. And I also really enjoy some good reviews on wherever you listen to your podcasts. Now, on with today's episode. Right, so mid-February we are now. So this is the time to start preparing for the summer?
So yes. So for people who suffer from environmental sensitivity, this is the time that I start looking into it, because what happened with environmental sensitivity is we are all born to start with a level of sensitivity. So I like to compare it to a glass. So we are born with already a little bit of water in the glass, a little bit of toxicity in the glass, and then things start adding up. Things go on top, and that's why there's some people go, well, I never had hay fever, and then it started last summer. It's because
yes,
right, it's because the glass suddenly is full, and the reason, because I do, as you know, I'm a homeopath, and I work with bioresonance, so I can see the toxicity there in the body, but obviously it takes time for the body to detox, to get rid of. We have to support the liver, we have to support the kidneys and everything else, so the body can get rid of it. So if we start 3 months before we have symptoms, we have 3 months to work on a tonic. And I make a tonic, see what comes up, see what the body, I literally ask the body, how many environmental toxins can you get rid of? And it might come up with 3, it might come up with 8, depending on the strength of the immune system, the body at the moment, the vital force, all those things. And then we detox one lot, and then we look at the next lot. So it could be foods, it could be heavy metals, it could be a whole load of things. It could be animal dander, it could be all sorts of things. So all those things add up. And then when the pollen comes, which very often is not the pollen the problem, it's the pesticide and the herbicide and the stuff that's been sprayed on the fields or on the trees or on the flowers, that is the problem. So what is the body going to do? It's going to create mucus to stop any more toxins going into the body. And this is when it becomes unbearable, because our eyes are puffy, our nose is, because the body is trying to defend ourselves. And the normal way to deal with this is to take antihistamine.
Yeah.
An antihistamine is stopping the histamine response of the body, which is only the primer, what the body does to defend itself. Now, when we keep doing antihistamine, we keep telling the body, and people take it just in case, then we keep telling the body, you're doing the wrong thing. Every time the immune system responds, we're saying, you're doing the wrong thing, you're doing the wrong thing, you're doing the wrong thing. And years after years of doing that, the body gets confused. And then we might end up with something like an autoimmune disease, because the immune system is confused on what I'm trying to defend you here. Yeah. And you're telling me to stop this response because you don't want this mucus in your nose, which I get it is. But the point is to reduce the toxicity level. So when the pollen comes, or the toxicity from what's on the pollen, is no longer a problem, and it doesn't make the glass overflow. Does that make sense?
Yes, I love this. I love this. So for those of you listening, I've got Steph Lloyd with me today, homeopath, and we're going to talk about anything that pops in, I think. But for me, what you said now is interesting. So my eldest daughter, she has some pollen issues, or I say she has some pollen issues. She has had some issues with pollen, some sensitivities, where she's been really quite itchy in her eyes and all the rest of it. And we've been taking actually a mushroom supplement for the last year and a bit. And I literally, so as you know, and I think you do the same, we use the Juice Plus capsules, and she has a red and a green, and I open them and put them into her granola bowl or cereal bowl in the morning, and then also one capsule of a dry powder of, I think it's 10 different mushrooms, and it's like the reishi mushrooms, and I can't remember all the other ones, but they apparently have shown to help with symptoms like that and help get the body to function better. And that has made a difference, as far as I can see, to her pollen sensitivities. But what she still has is quite bad reaction to cats. So with that, when we've gone to people's houses where they have cats, if she's going to be able to stay, I've had to give her an antihistamine before going, because otherwise she's in, have you had that itchy feeling in your eyes and you just cannot, I mean, it's awful.
It's unbearable. Absolutely.
It is unbearable. So we're going down the route there, but I know I read about antihistamine also, that it dries out, what is it called? What's it? Help me here. But basically, if you take antihistamines for too long, it's not great for you, because you're supposed to be able to have that mucus in your body, right?
That's right. You know, and I think, the odd antihistamine is fine.
Yeah.
It's again, lesser of two evil, and that, again, we can't be too hard on ourselves. If we need something to alleviate symptoms, then we need to do that. Absolutely. But yeah, it's the repetition, and and I see people that are taking it winter, summer, the whole time, every day, as a just in case prevention. But that's not a cure. That's just a suppression, and we've got to always be, as a homeopath, we always want to get to the root cause of the problem rather than suppressing symptom, because a symptom disappeared is not necessarily a symptom cured.
Yes. I love this. I don't know. I have to say, I don't know a lot about homeopathy, and also I don't know that much about like sensitivities to pollen, animals, all the rest of it. But it seems to me that the body surely not stupid. The body knows what it's doing, and it's like if to me it's also when I have a fever or temperature, it's there for a reason. Why am I trying to suppress it? I mean, I get it when it gets to a certain point, or when it gets to like a certain level, that you're not just going to sit there and wait to see what happens. But yeah, the body isn't stupid, it knows what it's doing. And so as I said, the example of my eldest daughter, she's much better, she was much better last summer than she was the summer before, because all through the year we've been focusing on adding more things to her diet to help her body function better. And interestingly, I was just like waving when you said people tend to, or often will get sort of hay fever or whatever it might be later on in life. And I had this. I didn't have anything growing up. I had cats and dogs and birds and rabbits and all the rest of it. And I never had any hay fever or anything like that. And then I got into my sort of 20s, and I remember I was a student, and it was kind of getting towards the summer, and I thought, what on earth is going on here? And then it was all starting to come, and we had a cat a few years ago, and all of a sudden, and we kind of adopted her from someone who couldn't have her anymore, and then she sadly passed away quite quickly. Oh, that sounds awful. After we got her, but she got a kidney failure. Anyway, long story short, I started reacting to her, and I just like, hang on, I've never reacted to cats. What on earth is going on? But now I'm much better. But it's also been several years for me of sort of cleaning up my diet, taking whole food supplements, looking at the products I use to clean in my house.
Yeah, and that's, I think that's a really important thing. There are toxicity that we can't we can't help. We can't help the car fumes, the aviation fumes, the farmers spraying their field, our neighbors putting Roundup on every weed they see, you know, heavy metals that are in things that we, you know, live with, harmful energy. You know, if you need an X-ray, you need an X-ray, you know, it is what it is. But there are a lot of things that we can do, like, you know, change the cookware, you know, not use pesticide and herbicide, you know, have vegetables that are organic, or at least if we can't peel them, we'll really brush them, you know, so we can get rid of it. You know, again, harmful energy, microwaves, ultraviolet rays, you know, they're now in salons, people are all standing under ultraviolet rays with their fingertips. That's not helpful, you know. Electromagnetics, again, that lowers our immunity, you know, so don't have your mobile phone on you all the time. Yeah. Don't, you know, sleep with the Wi-Fi on. Don't have your phone in your room.
Guilty.
Yeah, you know, but it's, you know, we could turn it on airplane mode, and that's already a whole lot better.
And you know what? I do that in the night. My husband doesn't, but I do that. And he's like, well, what if somebody needs to get hold of you? That's really important. And I'm just thinking, well, at least mine is off. Yours can be on your side of the bed. But yeah. I find maybe it's not random. I sleep so much better when it's on airplane mode. And sometimes I wake up and I think, gosh, I haven't had a good night. And then I realize I've forgotten to turn airplane mode on. And that might be completely random, right? But there seems to be a pattern.
Yeah, I mean, it is electromagnetic, you know, and if you can have it, if you need to leave it on, I said leave it on the landing.
Yeah.
So you can hear it if it rings, but it's not right next on your bedside table, you know. And if it can't be helped because you've got somebody that's in hospital, well, you keep it by your side then. You do. But try not to do it all the time. You know, it's just this little thing. And without, like, we can't get too harsh on ourselves. We have to be gentle with ourselves, and we can't do it. We can't do it. But there's always the little things that we can do, and we can't change everything today either. You know, so if all your makeup, you've had it for years and you want to change it, don't throw the whole thing away and spend hundreds of pounds changing it today. Next time you look for a new lipstick, look for a new lipstick that might not have formaldehyde in it, you know, that doesn't have lead in it. You know, next time you change your shampoo, have a think, you know, has it got paraben in it? You know, just slowly make changes, you know, try looking for things that clean your house. And, you know, I'm still using heavy stuff to clean my toilets because I'm not happy with anything else and I want my toilets to be clean. So I'm good with that, you know, I make my peace with that. But most of the time I can use vinegar and bicarb of soda with a little bit of really good quality essential oil, and it does a great job.
Yeah, exactly. Vinegar, gosh, it's been a lifesaver for me.
Yeah.
Toilets never looked as good as when I started using vinegar. Yeah. It's I mean, the whole bathroom might smell of fish and chips, you know, but it's clean. So it's all good. You can get them in like these 5-liter big bottles, and I just order them and they come every 4 months or so, and then it's all happy days. Listen, when you see, do you call them clients, patients? I don't know, but when you see people, what is the main thing that you help people with these days? What are they looking for? And you said before you started as well that you start with one problem and then something else might present itself later. It's like peeling layers off an onion sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. So it could be absolutely anything from, you know, menopausal imbalance to much deeper pathology. You know, so it just depends what people need are. And the thing with homeopathy is we take a full case. So people will come with, I've got itchy skin and that's what's going on. But we are going to take a full case. We do a top to toe, little MOT, what's going on. And I want to know if there's headaches, there's eyes, ears, throat, you know, teeth. We want to check everything, digestive, sleep pattern. We are going to look into absolutely everything because this is what holistic is. We're looking at the whole person, and every symptom that we are having, whether mental, physical, or emotional, are all messages from our body to show the imbalance. Like you were saying earlier, the body is always trying to bring ourselves back into balance. And when it can't, it'll throw out a symptom. And And this is the message for us to listen, to hear what's going on. And again, we don't want to suppress it. We want to find out, okay, this has started, because, you know, it might come on the skin and it's a bit of eczema coming up. And if it gets suppressed, then very often the correlation between the skin is then the lungs. So you find that children had eczema when they were very young, it was suppressed with the cream. And then later on, we find that there's a need for an inhaler, you know? So we don't want to suppress those symptoms. You know, again, the skin is the most outer organ and the least important organ, if you want, although it is there to protect us, and it obviously has a
kind of important.
It's very important. That's not the word I'm looking for, but you know, compared to the lungs and things, you know, so it's always, the body's always going to try and throw something in the least dangerous way for this, for the system. And if we suppress it, then it's going to start having to shout a bit louder so we can hear it.
That's the word I would have described as well, because if you kind of ignore the little whisper, then the body's going to have to start shouting louder and louder and louder. I had and I still haven't got to the bottom of it, but my youngest, he's 1, and when he started going on solids, I was like all about, you know, the organic Greek yogurt and the really good, all kinds of things. And he had, for a long time, actually, even before I started him on solids, he'd had like these small rashes around the side here, and he had quite a big rash like on his chest here. And I tried putting everything on it, like good things on it, and even like breast milk and everything. And he was also really constipated. Now, he'd had, from he was 10 days old, he'd been given antibiotics through me because I had an awful lot of mastitis. Then he'd been given antibiotics when he was 5 weeks old because of a suspected meningitis, which he didn't have. But it was one of those, I knew he didn't have that, but I also didn't want to be the mom that risked making the wrong decision for my child. I had lots more antibiotics because of or horrible mastitis and other things. Actually, the mastitis, I was able to eventually get rid of myself without the need for antibiotics. And then my eardrum burst. Antibiotics.
Yeah.
Which was, I mean, it was one of those things that it has its place, right?
It really does.
But it got to a point of his body had probably been overloaded. I don't know. Anyway, I took him off at the suggestion of a nutritional therapist. I took him off all of gluten and all of dairy, and he didn't even have oats. And I just stripped back his diet. He was still breastfed, and he had like eggs, sweet potato, avocado. So like really pure things. And in the hope that he would stop screaming at night because his tummy was so sore and he was constipated. Now, obviously, the tummy sorted itself, but all the rashes went. And that was not, I mean, I should have expected it because I've seen this happen before with other people that I've helped, you know, through our cleanses and with good nutritional support. But I was still surprised and it hasn't come back. He's been given all kinds, and now he eats like us, and he has some dairy, very little, and he has some gluten, not a lot, but he has an awful lot of goodness in his diet, and and he's got probiotics, and I give him coconut kefir in the morning on his porridge, and you know, all these things. But it's been a kind of a long journey, but in a way I'm thinking, when his body had been loaded full of so much stuff that he didn't need, he had it through breast milk, and then on top of that he was given foods that maybe he then wasn't ready to digest. It was just a perfect storm.
Yeah, it takes time for the gut to repair. You know, they say that from a course of antibiotics, it takes the microbiome up to 2 years to go back to normal. So for a tiny little baby that's not even had any practice, you know, so it's great what you did. I think it's just amazing that you got the understanding there, and it was from within that needed, rather than, you know.
I mean, it felt awful. I've never had such a healthy pregnancy, nutrition wise, and he was great and all the rest of it at birth. But good Lord, everything just got undone through the medication. But luckily, as you said, because I have the tools, I've been able to not just sit and say, oh, I'm a victim, or poor me, poor us. I've been able to say, okay, this is a bit shit, but this is what I'm going to do.
Yeah, and that's, you know, that's amazing. And you know what happened to you, you know, this was your third baby, did you say?
Yeah.
You know, the pressure that's on mums on the third baby, you know, your immune system, although you had a healthy pregnancy and everything else, there's a lot of pressure to look after a third baby whilst looking after two little ones. And, you know, so maybe your body was also under a lot of strain, you know, coming home with a young baby. So, you know, antibiotics really have their place, and sometimes they are really needed, and thank goodness we've got them, because they do really save lives. It's just having other tools and other understanding to know that that's not always where we need to go, you know, because antibiotic resistance is a thing that it is looking, you know, that we're not that far off, and we have to make an effort to take responsibility, I feel, for our health and make the changes necessary, rather than just try and kill the bacteria, but also everything else.
I know it's a bit scary to think about, really. I had a really good now I can't remember what she was, if she was a pediatric nurse or a health visitor, or what I can't remember, but I remember she did say to me as well, like, she just gave me strength to, so the last time I had mastitis, I was able to get rid of it myself without the need for anything. As in any medication, I just trebled up on all my nutritional supplements. I had a hot bath, and I had, I mean, all the things I could think of, and it went. So, but it's just having the support, and also knowing I am capable of doing this. I don't have to be sort of the victim of my situation here. I can think that it's not a great place to be, but now what do I do?
It's taking control. And you know, there is information out there is a lot of information, and if we need support from a professional, then you know, there's a lot of people that can tell you what foods are right or wrong for you, or you know, what other things. You know, homeopathy has lots for mastitis as well. There's a lot that can be done in just really gentle ways.
Well, I didn't know you then, did I?
No.
Imagine that. Oh gosh, yes, that would have been something. But so you help people with an array of things then, as a homeopath. Do you find though that, because a few years ago I would have poo-pooed the whole idea of going to a homeopath, but do you find that times are changing a little bit, that people are more open to seeing people like yourself?
Yes, very much, very much. You know, and I think this is the beauty that's come out of COVID, is that people have understood about metabolic health and needing to stay in a healthy state and help themselves. And I grew up in Switzerland, where we don't have the NHS. And, you know, if you go to the doctor, it'll cost you £100 excess on your insurance. So nobody goes to the GP for a cold or a cough, or a, you know, there is ways, people find ways to help themselves, and homeopathy is very common, you know, used out there, really, because of that reason, because we have to take charge of our health, you know. So I now run courses to teach people to use a homeopathy kit and a book, and to be able, particularly as mums, you know, to feel empowered, because it's always on a Sunday night that they feel sick. It's always when you can't get hold of anyone, you know, and it's just awful to see your child and not know what to do, or have to take them in a doctor's surgery or an A&E, where they'll wait for hours with a, you know, whatever's going on with them on that day. So it's just great. I mean, I've used homeopathy with my kids their whole life, pretty much. I grew up with homeopathy. My mum used it with us when I was little, because my sister used to have repetitive earaches and nothing worked, and this is when she discovered it. But it's just so empowering. And when you use small potencies which are available in the kits, you can't make a mistake, because being a vibrational energetic medicine, if it doesn't match the vibration of the disease, it won't do anything. It'll just fall to the wayside, nothing will happen, and there's no risk for mum to make a mistake. So it's just about observing our children and seeing how they're presenting, you know, how is their cough? What makes it better? Oh, when he's outside, he's not coughing. When he's inside, he is. He's never coughing at night, but he's coughing in the day. You know, those things will direct us to different remedies. And then you can try and, you know, and the symptom change, and then you might have to change another remedy until we've pushed that whole dis-ease out of the body. My children used to complain because they were like, Mum, I can only be ill from school like one day, everybody else got 3 or 4 days. It's not fair.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah, they were
I mean,
nuts.
but it's so true though, isn't it? Yeah. Damn you, why do you have to be so good at this?
Yeah, why is my body repairing so quickly, Mum? I've had enough of this stuff. So they don't, you know, they don't know the meaning of it, because they do repair so quickly, and now they know, you know, they just go, oh, just give me a phosphorus and be done with it, Mum. Okay.
They appreciate it, but they can't say it as clearly as that, because
Oh no, but I don't think they appreciate it just yet. But they will when they're older, and they get it. They really get it.
So you see an increase in then people who have like, I've never been to a homeopath, but my friend told me, or my mum, or
yeah, loads of people that wouldn't have looked at it a few years ago. And unfortunately, people can't get medical care. You know, it's so difficult for people. The waiting lists and things are so long, and and because I think of toxicity, the disease becomes so complicated because people can't find what's going on, because it seems so unrelated. One thing, you know, that they'll have another thing, and then you said for one doctor for their shoulder pain, and another doctor for their gut pain, and another doctor, you know, when actually probably it's all on the same meridian, or there is a link between everything that's going on.
yeah.
And there's, you know, there might be an emotional link.
Do you know what so I grew up with parents in the pharmaceutical industry, and I'm not religious, but God rest his soul. My dad, he was the one in the pharmaceutical industry, and both parents are radiographers, so X-rays. And I've always grown up with like you take a medicine whenever, yeah, but also you sort of eat well, etc. But it's so it's interesting to learn that sort of other ways of looking at things, I find, because I've been so used to seeing like you treat this thing and this thing and this thing. But I went to see a common friend of ours for some treatment, and I couldn't believe how everything was just connected. Emotionally, physically, everything was just connected. And you know, you have like the what's it called, the EAV system, you know, putting I call it a pen on like on your finger or on the side of your hand, and it goes, okay, this shows XYZ, and you just go, how on earth is this possible? The person that, obviously, yes, I know this person, but it could be a person that you don't know, and they can tell you so much about yourself, and you just think, how is this related to that? But then you're given this remedy to support it, and weeks later you just go, gosh, I feel completely different. And I'm surprised. Myself 10 years ago, let's say, would have been like, what on earth are you doing? Whereas now, because I've been a very skeptical but open-minded person, I've learned that there is an awful lot I don't know, and how most things are related.
And it's a case of seeing it to believe it, isn't it?
Yes.
Because, you know, when I give people, you know, in the same way, you know, I do a test, and then I'll give a little tonic made to their particular need, their personalized remedy. People are now just like, that is how it, and sometimes I give them one tiny little homeopathic pill, and those constitutional remedy, and I can really take things like people have had. I had a woman who had lost everything. A builder had completely ripped them off, and they'd lost their life saving and their home and everything else. And since then, she'd come up with a whole load of symptoms. She couldn't breathe, she would get coughing, and she had sleep apnea, and there was all sorts of things that were going on with her. And I gave her that one tiny little pill because it started from that event where that person had done them so wrong. And once we remove that, the body rebalanced itself, and she said, I said, well, how do you feel about that man? She was like, oh, well, he just lives his life. It's fine, it's just a story. But there was no emotion attached to that story anymore. It wasn't going into a core to cause that disease, and then the body did what it needed to do, because she was in a place where she wasn't angry anymore.
Isn't that something? I listened to podcast of Dr. Chatterjee a while back, and I can't remember the podcast. I think he might have been a guest. I can't remember when it was, but he was talking about that he'd also had patients that were trying to lose weight, and one person had gotten to a certain point, but then nothing had worked. And he was also talking about how it is almost like a protective mechanism, I think he was saying, because we're protecting ourselves from whatever it might be. And so, but I also do think sometimes that we kind of identify as the person with whatever it is that we're carrying around with us, whatever disease we're carrying around with us. You kind of say, I am, chronically ill, or instead of I have at the moment, so we it becomes something that we identify with, and it's hard to let go of those things as well, because it might be protecting something else. Absolutely. We don't know. This is like, again, this is stuff like I can't believe it's coming out of my mouth, because myself 10 years ago would have thought I'd completely lost my mind. But this is why I do this podcast, because I think it's interesting to I do this because I want to learn, and I think if I learn something, then other people who listen might learn something as well. That it's worth seeking out somebody who can help see the connections between everything.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's there's always a connection, and it's really important for people to put the dots together. And going back to Dr. Chatterjee, I forgot what I was talking about.
He was, I think he was saying something about that.
About the armor. He was saying that we were doing that to protect ourselves. Sorry. Yes, because that's, the body doesn't know if a danger, our brain is still quite primitive. If it's a saber-toothed tiger attacking us, or our boss giving us jib at work, it doesn't know there's a danger, so it keeps in a state of stress. And then the body cannot fight anything or lose weight. It could be, it doesn't know if there's a famine coming up. So what do we do for a famine? We gather fat, just in case we are going to die. So the body doesn't know. When I run, so I have a weight loss scan that I can run, and toxicity will come up in there. Is there any environmental toxins that are stopping us from losing the weight? Is there any hormone imbalance that may stop us from losing the weight? Thyroid, is that out of balance? Because there's no way the body's going to let go of extra safety with that weight if it feels in any sort of danger.
And that, I think, must apply to so many of us. I remember when I went and had my EAV testing the first time, one of the results was that my autonomic nervous system was like cranked up to 11, basically. And so the comment was, well, Mari, you can't get any better until you sort that bit out, because that's just like running the show here.
And very often, there will be, what we call sometimes a maintaining cause, and an element in our lives. But for that, people have to feel the strength to change that element in their life. That's not easy, and that's a journey, and it's a journey of self-love and self-care and self-understanding, and being able to take the central nervous system down so we can hear our soul speak a little bit louder. And that's what a lot of people say when they start taking their personalized tonic. They said, you know what, suddenly I want to walk more, I want to eat good food, I want to make all those right changes, and removing the guilt. You can have some self-care. You can sit and have a cup of tea and watch the birds for half an hour a day, mum, because and do something that really pleases you, especially, mums, we get so busy when our children are little and it's running here and running there and there's so much to do. It's so important to take the time, even if it is 3 minutes, even if that's all we can manage, to take the time to bring it down. Learning to meditate is a real gift, even if it is 3 minutes to start with.
Yeah, you're so right. It reminds me of the book of the large family, the elephant family, that's called 5 Minutes Peace.
Yes.
I can't remember if she's getting 2 minutes and 45 seconds or 3 minutes and 45 seconds, but it kind of and that is, she's fighting for those minutes. But it is important to have that time to go, I just want to be me for a second. I learned this from, I had a Danish woman on this podcast a while back, Eben Sandal. She's got a couple of books that she's written, like bestsellers, about the Danish way of raising children, and she often says that it's, you can be, what did she say? And I'm just trying to paraphrase it now. We were talking about how often you will send your children away because they think about what you've done or whatever, but actually, give them space to kind of, be in the room with you, and you don't necessarily have to be available, like be talking to them or whatever. And the same goes for you, that you can just sit like, okay, I'm going to be sat in this chair now, I'm going to have my cup of tea, we can have a conversation, but I'm not gonna do anything for you just now. We can sit here and join me and we can talk, but I also need to, I'm here in this environment, in this room with you, but I am also just taking a minute to kind of gather myself. And you might not want to say it in those words, but it's just being kind of available, but not completely. And also the same way for your children to say, do you know what, just have a seat over there, stay with us in our circle or whatever it might be, or in the room, but just take a minute to just find back to your center, or whatever it might be that you need. I think we are so what's the word I'm looking for, conditioned to feel guilty when we're not producing.
Absolutely. The guilt is usually the emotion behind all of this, isn't it?
Yeah. And then we think, like, I have to send people away if they're not doing what I say, and I'm going to take myself out of this room, or you're going to go, and we just get so stressed because something isn't going the right way. And if it's not going the right way, then I can't be efficient, I can't produce, I can't do.
And it's important for us to teach our children that we are taking self-care for ourselves. We're teaching them, for them to later on in their life practice self-care, because I think this is new, that this is allowed. I don't know about your mother, but my mother didn't take much self-care, and her mother even less. So we were told, they were probably more told, what are you doing there, sat there doing nothing? Yeah. As now we understand, and our life is much busier, in so many ways. So it's really important for our children to learn that it's okay to take self-care guilt-free, and that mum is okay to sit down and have a bit of time just to be. Remember, we are human being, not human doing, and that's that thing that's been forgotten, or I think we're learning it again. I think we are definitely, and our the next generation is much better at it as well.
I think so. It's interesting what you said about whether my mom was told what she was told. So she's got thyroid problems, and which is managed, but it can often be caused by stress, right?
And
Or
not speaking
toxicity.
your voice as well.
Not
It's very much a throat
exactly,
chakra.
not speaking your truth,
Mm.
completely stressed out, all the rest of it. And I was just reading a post today that said something about, it was a human design post. I don't know if you're familiar with human design, but as a projector, when you're trying to be something you're not, trying to grind, and you're not designed to be that, it said something about it's not too uncommon to have thyroid problems, and I just find it fascinating because that's exactly what she's had slash have has. And going back to what you said about toxicity, and we're talking about hay fever earlier, but toxicity isn't just like the chemicals from our house cleaning products or the pesticides on our food, but it is, I mean, you call it, and I guess toxicity, it can be all the stresses in your life,
Absolutely.
the people that you surround you can be your own worst enemy.
Yeah,
It's
your
not,
thoughts can be
yeah.
your own toxins. Absolutely. The thing that you listen to, the stuff that you watch, this is all toxicity. Absolutely.
Yeah, but I think we'd like to think of it as sort of chemicals in a bottle, when in fact, if you got a negative, I don't know, Facebook timeline or whatever, and you start looking at it, or if you, do you know what? I can't believe I always used to watch the news, and I always like to be up to date, all the rest of it. I met my husband, and he's like, I don't watch the news. I was like, why? He's like, it just makes me annoyed, and I don't want to feel annoyed. And I said, well, how do you know what's going on in the world? And he says, well, I read. But I don't like the whole sensationalism around it. And I sort of cut back on watching the news. And yes, sometimes I think maybe I should be a little bit more informed about what's going on in the world. But at the same time, I mean, it has really helped me lower my shoulders and be a much better human being to those around me. And call me naive if you want, but I think being a more centered human being to my children I mean, it's a small part of creating a slightly better world, right? Because we have to start with ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. And given, the time to our children, and then being able to watch, children learn from example. You can tell them all you want. If we don't lead by example, if we don't do the thing that we want them to do, they're just gonna copy us.
Yeah. They see right through it, don't they? They're not.
Pardon?
They see right through it. They're not.
They see right through, and they, even if you try and hide it and you're stressed, they'll know. We are energetic beings before we are physical beings, so they will feel our energy very. If I do a remedy for a mum and a child, it's so mirrored. The
Yes.
energy that's going on. Oh, I've done it for owner and a dog, and it's so mirrored.
Oh my gosh.
It's just always such a mirror of energy, and you can really see, and sometimes I tell the mum, and she's like, I think that's my stuff, actually. I was like, oh, he's like really suppressing anger, and she's like, I am suppressing anger right now about and then it all comes out, and I was like, oh, I think he's feeling that. She's like, I don't think he's angry, but I was like, so that's yours that's coming out on your child.
Wow.
So we are so energetically connected with our children. It's worth taking a check. Mums will bring me their kids, and then I'm like, can we look at you as well? Because, and I do it for myself, if they go, they're getting, stressed out over the little things, I'm like, do you know what? I've worked a lot this week. I've not had that much self-care, not looked after myself. I might have eaten more rubbish because I've been in a hurry. Let's look a bit closer to the root here, sort this out, and then see how that bounces back on them. And then, sometimes they're brewing something and there's something going on at school or whatever. Sometimes it is theirs, but it is worth checking.
Yeah.
The navel, the root.
Yeah. Do you know, I had a while back on a podcast, I had a woman on, Jenna Garadiola, a human design specialist, and she was saying whenever she talks to a client and looks at their profile, she when they start talking, she starts sort of guiding them. She always goes, hang on, when's your child born, or when's your husband born, or when's whoever born? And then it's like it all makes sense. She said it's all connected, and once you learn to understand you can learn to understand them better, and vice versa, right?
Yeah,
and it goes, this is the same for you.
Yeah, totally makes sense. Absolutely. We know we're not parent and child by accident.
No, exactly. And we're
journey.
also not islands, are we? We're all connected.
Oh, absolutely. You know, past generations and future generations as well.
Yeah, this is the fascinating thing as well, isn't it? That however, whatever happened to you or to your mother or to your grandmother, it's all linked. Another thing that if you and I think I want to end this conversation with this, that if I'm anything to go by, and if you'd known me when I was like 10, 15, 20 years old, you would have been like, this is not the same person talking today. But what has happened is, and obviously you grew up with homeopathy, for example. So maybe you're a bit more open-minded and looking at sort of holistic ways of looking at the world to begin with. But for me, it's been a journey. But I think if you can go, I'm not sure, but I'm just, because what has been good for me is that, because my confidence hasn't been very high, I've been like, but what if I'm wrong? I might be wrong. I'm probably not that clever, so let's listen to this person, and then afterwards I can decide for myself. But they might know something I don't. And so because I have had this sort of idea of other people probably know lots more than I do, I should probably listen. And even though I've been skeptical, it's allowed me to actually expand my horizon.
I think it's important to be skeptical. I think it's important to question, you know, with an open mind. And, you know, there is so much that we can research. And if it resonate with you and it works, then that's great. But I think it is important to be skeptical and to question things and to test things and, you know, to backtrack and then go forward again. You know, it's important. It's important for it to It's important to question things. Yeah,
I think it's just that has overpowered my need to be right, because I think a lot of us walk around with this massive need to be right about things, and this also massive need to not feel like we've been scammed in some way. And it's easier to hold on to what we know than to be open to other ways of looking at. Going back to antihistamines, for example, they've got their place. Good. I mean, I know they've got their place.
yes.
But also, isn't it amazing that we can also do other things that won't just help us, like talking about the mushroom supplements. I mean, they haven't just helped us. That's the only thing we changed that year. So I know that has done something.
Yes.
Although I can't be saying 100% because who knows, right? But it's good to know that we can take matters into our own hands and introduce something into our bodies that not only supports us in one area, but it can support us in other areas as well, instead of relying on all the time, like medication, to just, as you said, mask the problems. I just find it incredibly empowering. So the whole widening our horizons can only be good, I think.
Absolutely. It doesn't have to be one or the other.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be Western medicine or holistic medicine. They work together, and the more we work together to make people better, the better, I think. You know, I always very, you know, I want to know what their doctor has said. I want to know how they're going. I want to work with their doctor to, if we're going to reduce a medicine, or if we're going to, you know, if their thyroid starts working better and they can lower the dose, I want them to go to their doctor and check what they think, if they're happy to do it, if they get the numbers, get the test you want to do, and check that. You know, the important is to be the healthiest and live in a thriving life. And however, whatever all those tools we have learned as humanity, everything has a place. And I think we need to work together to really help people help themselves and live a healthier life.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Everything's got its place. I'm just grateful to actually, through the business that I'm doing now, to have met so many people just such as yourself that that have just opened my mind to the possibilities of taking responsibility for ourselves and creating a toolbox, a wellness toolbox. And there's so much room in that toolbox for all kinds of things. So I just think, yeah, and the more, as I said, the more we talk, the more we are open to listening and to really learning from each other, and not just going into the trenches and dismiss everyone's opinion as BS or whatever, you know, we want to call it. I think the better, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Right, I've got to go and pick my kids up from school, but thank you so much for being on, Steph. I'd like to ask you to send me all the ways in which you work with people, so that when listeners listen, they can go in on the show notes of this episode and be able to contact you. I don't know if you do any online consultations as well. Perhaps you do, but certainly if there's ways that people can work with you, different ways, then I think that would be really, really good to to add into the notes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I do work in person or online. Absolutely. I just need a hair sample if I work remotely to test, to do the test. But yes, I do work with people all around the world. So
well, let's get that up on the show notes then. Anything I've forgotten?
No, I think that was brilliant. It was lovely. Thank you so much for having me on. It was a lovely, lovely chat. So thank you so much.
Love talking to you. Thank you so much, Steph.
Take care.
You have listened to the Small Steps to Wellness show with me, Mari Craig. I love taking deep dives into a variety of topics that are related to wellness. I hope you've enjoyed listening to this, and I look forward to hopefully catching up with you.